Third Andresen. I'm the principal investigator for the 206 Hip Hop Archive at Suzzallo Library, University of Washington. Arguably the fourth largest archive in the nation after Harvard, Cornell, University of Houston. And I also teach at UW Comparative History of Ideas and American Ethnic Studies. And I'm also the Ethnic Studies Chair at Green River College. And I'm the Chief Curriculum Developer Officer for the Filipinx American History Curriculum that's going to be rolling out Seattle Public Schools this year. Very historic, never been done. Yeah, my family moved to the United States back in the 1930s when the Philippines was still a United States territory. Obviously, a lot of our grandparents was born under the US flag, status as national. And my grandfather and some of his relatives were pensionados. They were supposed to go to a university and go back to the Philippines and kind of rebuild the Philippines in ways that, you know, like a US-based type of, Americanize the Philippines, basically. And never got to finish college, so ended up plowing the fields of California, did some agricultural work, and when the season is done, went to Alaska to can salmon. Have families all over the US, quite a diaspora, Illinois, New York, the Bay, SoCal, and you know, family's been like fourth generation, Central District, grew up in Seattle, product of the school bus system. And yeah, went to UW, BA in Ethnic Studies, Master's in Multicultural Ed, and PhD in Multicultural Ed. Yeah, well, Seattle was like the base. It's like where a lot of folks really kind of landed. You know, if you're not landed in in San Francisco, you're landed in Seattle. So it's kind of like, you know, like the place in between California and Alaska. So you got the canneries in Alaska, and you got the fields of California, and Seattle became, that center point, that middle point where a lot of folks really settled. Especially in the Central District. It's an old settlement now. Filipinos in the Central District is probably one of the oldest Filipino settlement, in Seattle proper, outside Bainbridge Island. Bainbridge Island is like 1881, 1882, somewhere around there. But Filipinos in the Central District, yeah, it's pioneer. What makes me Filipino is perhaps the work that I do, hopefully, even though we don't really speak, the language, even though we're told that we're less Filipino than other folks, especially folks that are coming from, from the PI. Being Filipino is learning your roots and continually critically analyzing where our history is being made, where it's coming from, being involved in the Filipino-American community, being involved in grassroots organizing, and being allies to, Black, Indigenous, and other people of color in Seattle, the United States, worldwide. So to me, that's what being Filipino is. It's not just about, the food that you eat, the clothes that you wear, the languages you speak. A lot of folks can do that. And being Filipino is more of like, at least for me, is, it's internal. It's supposed to be revolutionary. I think if there was a solution, we would have done it by now. I don't think we would have that issue right now, but apparently it's still kind of going on, and perhaps it's been probably going on ever since. A lot of this is, within the context of the system of white supremacy, where we're both told that, we're not supposed to like each other. And if you're Filipino American, you're supposed to put down on somebody who has an accent. And if you're a Filipino from the Philippines, you're supposed to think that these folks are not as Filipino as you think you are. So once we kind of figure out, talking about crabs in the barrel, once we figure out who's creating the barrel, why the barrel is even there, perhaps we won't be, stepping on each other. And one of the ways to do that is through education. I think we're all caught up with that. At one point in time, we put down somebody that's, that doesn't speak the way we speak. And the more, you get educated, the more man, we're all in the same camp. We're taught to fight each other. We're taught, not to trust each other. They look at us the same. At the end of the day, we're all FOBs, according to the system of white supremacy. Even though, Mayflower is a boat, you know what I'm saying? If anybody who's fobbing out here, it'll be Europeans. This is not their land. We're settling on somebody's land as a settler colonial. Probably food, lumpia or something, something that's, everybody say, kamusta, but usually you'd be my frame of reference is probably food, or some curse words, Ilocano curse words. Other than that, I have to, take classes, at UW to learn, basic Tagalog, just to, at least communicate with other folks or understand what they're saying, and a lot of that too, because, I was told man, you can't even speak, man, you're not even, whatever. And I took that, man. I was like, what? What do you mean? I'm not Filipino. Bro, we're the same. Apparently I'm not, because I can't speak. And, internalized it to a point where you know what? I'm gonna take this class and really just, I don't want trying to prove to everybody, but it's more of for my own professional or, personal growth, personal development at the same time. And why not learn different languages, I think we're the only country who speak, one language, and other countries are 2 or 3 or 4 languages, and we speak one. We can't even speak it, how it's supposed to be spoken according to the King's English. But that's a different, discussion to have. And sometimes I'm glad that we don't speak the way, the King's English is supposed to be spoken. It's resistance. If your grammar is whack or whatever, I see that as resistance. There's a difference between, Filipino American history or Filipino American heritage. History is more of, the events, the places, the facts that happens, and the heritage is more of somewhat of related or connected to the culture. That could be either, from the U.S., organically developed in the U.S. or in the Philippines. Heritage could be the folk dancing part, or the food that we eat, or the barong Tagalog that, we wear at, some occasions. As far as the history part, no history, no self. If you know your history, you most likely would know yourself. And if you don't know history, chances are you probably won't even know yourself in the ways that you're supposed to know yourself, like how white students know themselves, because they see themselves in the history books. And if you don't see yourself in the center of the curriculum, it's gonna most likely take us a while to get where we want to be, because we're still trying to, figure out who we are. And, history is, it's what guides, at least for me, it guides me to where I'm supposed to be going. And if I don't know the route, then I don't know how I'm going to get to the destination. So it's important in a way that it helps the youth, it helps a person develop their identity, develop their self-esteem, their self-confidence, and it helps us accomplish our goals, better. Man, I've been thinking about this, man. I mean, I got so many, folks in my list that I would like to meet. I mean, some of them I already met. Probably one would probably be Larry Itliong, who's the catalyst of the United Farm Workers. He was an agricultural worker down in California with spark-plugged a Delano grape strike, and if it wasn't for that, United Farm Workers would probably take a minute to be organized, and not trying to take away from Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta about the United Farm Workers, but Larry Itliong and Philip Veracruz and Benjamin Guinness and the other folks, should also get that, that limelight, that recognition. The other one is probably Lapu Lapu. I'm just trying to see, how'd you defeat Magellan, man? And if I have to pick a hero, a lot of folks is, Rizal or Bonifacio or Aguinaldo or whatever. For me, man, I'm just straight to the point, man. Lapu Lapu, just come through the hood, you get dealt with. Fuck around and find out. That's Lapu Lapu to me. The last one probably, I don't know, man, it's a toss-up between her and Sweetie. Like to meet them, because, they're producing good work. And, they're, at this point, they're seen as a role model, to a lot of folks, especially, Black and Filipino youth, so on and so forth. So those might be the three. And then, the third one's kind of both. I mean, I met Ruby Barra, I met Nasty Ness, General Taguba. I just met like 3 months ago. A month ago at the Fonz conference. I go to these conferences and, this is where I meet, these folks. And then I met General Hillman. He's one of the, the only few Filipino generals under the U.S. Army. I think I got a picture with Ruby. I got a picture with Rex. I got a picture with Uncle Fred, Aunt Dorothy, and Velma Veloria. I worked with Velma Veloria. I met Larry Itliong's son. I mean, again, coming from the field of education, it's no history, no self. If you don't know history, you don't know self. And if you're anti-Black, you're anti-self, because indigenous Filipinos in the Philippines, a lot of them are Black. So if you're anti-Black, you're anti-identity or Filipino identity. I just want to plug, the history, the Filipinx American history curriculum that's rolling out in Seattle Public Schools, and our goal is to go to different school districts all throughout the nation, one district at a time, starting here in King County until we hit the Atlantic Ocean. And so that the next generation would be able to learn about, Filipino American history. It's really United States history that includes Filipino American experience. It's not a version of our history. It's U.S. history that includes our story. And imagine, the new generation, might not even be Gen Z, but the generation after that, being able to learn, Filipino American history, in the classroom. Things that we only dream of. And mind you, this is like 50 years in the making. So we have a movement in the 50th year. It's important to learn everybody's history, regardless of, your identity. We're all neighbors, and we have to know each other. We have to know our neighbors. We have to know, the folks that lives in our community, and being able to learn about their story, will provide us better relationship with everybody, and be able to, address issues that we have with each other. Why not? Why not learn about other folks? We've been doing that for a long time. We learn about white people every day. Why is that important? It's the same thing why non-Filipinos learn about Filipinos the same way we learn about other communities. It just makes us better. It unites us as a country. It empowers us as a community. Mabuhay Pilipinas!